Let's talk about bad acting.
This broth is miraculous. It contains sap from the forest. It is a concentration of all of the vegetal properties of the earth.
Bad acting, bad actor. What does that mean? It's such a subjective term, and it's a matter of opinion when somebody says somebody is a bad actor. Let's take a look at what bad acting is and why you should maybe reframe the way you describe actors when you don't really like their performances. Join me in just a second. Hey everybody, Doug Fahl here. This is Augmented Actor. Make sure you hit that subscribe button before you do anything else. So I'm sure we've all seen bad acting or described somebody's performance as bad acting or a bad actor. There are a number of films out there that are notoriously famous for their bad acting, like Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space.
What plan will you follow now?
Plan 9. It's been absolutely impossible to work through these Earth creatures. Their soul is too controlled.
Plan 9. Ah, yes. Plan 9 deals with the resurrection of the dead.
A lot of the early John Waters movies like Pink Flamingos.
Over late today, Mama?
Oh, no, Babs, no. It's sunny out today. I want them sunny side up. You know how I like them, Babs. You know how I like them.
Troll 2 is a good example of some bad acting.
Dear Elliot Cooper, tomorrow morning will be your final judgment. Either me or your boys. Take it or leave it. The beautiful Holly waits, or your lovely little boys.
Elizabeth Berkley's performance in Showgirls is considered notoriously bad acting.
I've had dog food.
You have?
Mm-hmm. Long time ago. Doggy chow. Oh, I used to love doggy chow.
I used to love doggy chow too.
But we hear the term bad acting all the time, and I think it's unfair. Whenever an actor approaches me, especially a younger actor, that shows me an example of their work and they say, hey, am I a good actor? Am I a bad actor? Should I pursue this career? I try never to use those kind of labels, bad acting, good acting, because they are a matter of opinion and they are subjective. What I try to do is help them identify some of their habits that they have that might be drawing the viewer's attention away from their character. Or I say you need to work on these aspects in order to improve your game. Because really what I think a lot of people attribute to bad acting is just inexperienced acting or less practice at doing a certain role. There's a big difference between somebody who's just fresh off the street and hasn't had a chance to get in front of the camera or on a stage and a professional that's been doing it for many years. However, both of them can be considered bad actors by certain people. So much of what comes across in a performance is not the fault of the actor. Especially in film, the actor doesn't have a lot of control over what actually gets seen, which takes are used, how the editing is timed and paced, the director's choices in what they want to see in the character versus what the actor was trying to deliver. People label that as bad acting, and it's really not the fault of the actor. So oftentimes when we say somebody's a bad actor, we're really saying that the director didn't work with that actor long enough, that the editor had a weird way of pacing, that the director of photography didn't match up the eye lines in the shots. When an actor is looking somewhere in one shot and then slightly different in another shot, or the person responding to them doesn't match their eye line, that can feel weird and like bad acting.
I'm worried that you work in an office, have children, celebrate wedding anniversaries. The world of heterosexual is a sick and boring life.
Sometimes
If a character is not framed properly in a shot, like they're framed like this in a shot, it looks like the actor is bad. And it's really just the camera framing.
An Egyptian feast.
Yes, an authentic dinner, such as one might have attended in ancient Egypt. The actual feast of an ancient pharaoh. It has not been served for 5,000 years.
And sometimes you even have to attribute this to the casting director. The actor is a perfectly good actor and they're doing their job, but they're probably miscast in a role. So, that's often what we will attribute to bad acting, is somebody that doesn't quite fit the character that they're trying to portray. And so it pulls us out of that believability.
A mess like this ought to make anyone frightened. Have one of the boys take the guy and the girl back to town. You take charge.
Okay, Inspector. What are you going to do?
Look around the world.
Pretty dark out there. Once you get beyond the range of those lights, you won't be able to see your hand in front of your face. Be careful, Clay.
I'm a big boy now, Johnny.
And on stage, a director, might not spend a lot of time working on an actor's performance or fixing little problem spots because they're attending to a much bigger picture. And sometimes in a stage performance, you can't really control what an actor is going through each time in a performance. And sometimes their life outside of the show can affect their performance in subtle ways, or the timing of other actors and their deliveries can mess up something. Or maybe they're dealing with a costume snafu or any other number of mistakes that can happen in live theater that just so happen to make their performance that particular night seem weird, strange, off-centered, or unbalanced. Now, another thing to look at is whether a person is a beginning actor or a seasoned professional. This can have a lot to do with how we perceive their acting. In a lot of these films, like John Waters, for instance, Edith Massey, she seems like such a bad actor. Well, she's not an actor. She's not trained. She was pulled out of a restaurant or a bar and brought into the film because she embodied certain characteristics and qualities that were quirky and fun. And that's what John Waters wanted to use in Pink Flamingos and all those other early John Waters films.
Well, good morning, little birdie. You're a cute little fella. Want some pizza? I bet you're hungry.
He wanted that raw, unfiltered, unpolished attempt.
Cotton! Babs won't give me my eggs. Cotton, please come in here and give me my eggs.
That amateur is serving the purposes of that director and that film, and that's an intentional thing. Those amateurs, they work extra hard. They spend a lot of time working on their characters. And so even if they don't come off as good, polished performances that we come to expect from the seasoned, polished professionals, it doesn't mean that it's bad acting. It just means that it's not meeting our expectations somehow. Something's not registering to the audience.
Everything happened so fast. I saw this shadow, and then I got it. I can't remember.
These people give their lives to their performance, and they really put the stakes up, and they take risks, and they just are bold. And maybe they have some problems that beginning actors have. The inflections aren't in the right line.
About all those murders. And it sort of takes all the joy out of everything.
Or they don't know how to use their voice properly, or they struggle with memorization and they're making some words up.
Terrible. I just shudder when I think about that butcher, that maniac, butchering all those girls. I wish they could find out who did it and put him where he belongs.
Those kind of things develop over time. So anytime somebody's new to a project, they're going to look like a bad actor on film. You can kind of tell whether somebody is trained or not in a film. And most films have trained actors. Most stage shows, you had to go through that audition process and work through some filters there, but not always. And sometimes actors get cast in a show and then have to do things in that show that are out of their comfort zone. And so, they're working on it. When you have a mismatch between a director and an actor's performance, it can often the actor will get blamed for it. Elizabeth Berkley in Showgirls.
I just got here.
We see all these moments in the show where it just like, oh, that why did you say it that way, and why were you giving all that energy when you didn't need to?
Different places.
But when you watch a documentary on Showgirls and you learn that the director, Paul Verhoeven, was actually pushing her to go over the top, pushing her all along the way to give a bigger, broader performance, because that's how he saw the character. He saw her as outrageous and outlandish, and she was doing her best to nail those moments and to really give him what he's wanted, and it reflected poorly on her perception in the show.
Thrust it! Thrust it! Come on, thrust it!
It's kind of that weird dichotomy between what a director's vision and an editor's vision of a film is and what an actor is trying to give. Elizabeth Berkley famously spent a lot of time and energy and focus and gave a full commitment to that role. She was committed, but it just didn't come off that way by the choices of the director and the editor. Because of the collaborative nature of filmmaking, you can't fully blame Elizabeth Berkley for that performance. And much of it was intentional as well. She might not have got that the audience was really kind of meant to laugh at her seriousness in certain scenes. She might not have been in on the joke, and that's what we attribute to her performance, her bad acting performance.
You know, this whole journey started 20 years ago. I was a really young girl. I had this huge dream to play this girl named Nomi Malone. And I had the most extraordinary experience making the film. It was the greatest freedom, you know, when a dream is happening. It's unlike anything you can ever imagine, which is why when the movie came out, it was more painful than anything you can imagine. In 1995, it was such a different time where taking risks like that were not embraced. They were laughed at, they were shamed publicly, and to be a young girl in the center of that was something that was quite difficult.
I might label some performances as bad acting, but I don't do it the way that most people do. I think that if an actor is committed and giving 100% to their performance and is making broad, risky choices, and they are memorable, then they are doing good acting. They're doing not necessarily great Academy Award-winning acting, but they are giving you something. The worst actors are the ones that don't commit, that have meek, timid choices. They don't seem to give any energy in a scene or a shot, and they really don't have their heart behind the role. So for me, it's about being memorable. So let's take an example. Tommy Wiseau's directed, wrote, and produced and starred in a movie called The Room, which is notoriously considered bad acting.
Yeah, can I have a dozen red roses, please?
Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you. Here you go.
That's me. How much is it?
It'll be $18.
Here you go. Keep the change. Hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
It was even made into a movie called The Disaster Artist with James Franco.
Please talk to me, please. You're part of my life. You're everything. I could not go on without you, Lisa.
You're scary.
You are lying. I never hit you. You are tearing me apart, Lisa.
His performance was so over the top and unhinged and crazy.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
It made the movie. It made the movie memorable, and that movie has gone on to become a cult classic, and it is in the consciousness for a long period of time.
We got a new client at the bank. We'll make a lot of money.
What client?
I cannot tell you. It's confidential.
Oh, come on. Why not?
No, I can't. Anyway, how is your sex life?
Now imagine if Tommy Wiseau had delivered a very polished, professional performance in that movie. No one would have remembered that movie. It would have been completely unmemorable. It would have faded into obscurity, and we wouldn't be talking about it now. And James Franco would not have made a movie about it. So, you know, that's the power of bad acting, so to speak. So is it really bad acting if it's memorable, if it serves the character? That brings me to my final point. Whenever we see a film in particular or a television show, whatever's on screen is what it is. Whichever actor was cast, that's what the role is. That is it. And on stage, whoever originates a role sets the blueprint for that role moving forward. But in any particular production, whoever's cast has that role, and whatever you see, that is what it is. That's the experience you got. There are strange characters out there. There are strange people in the world who talk weird, who inflect the wrong word, or who slur their speech, or who aren't quite like a normal person is. Think Truman Capote, for instance, you know, that weird little voice of his and his mannerisms and stuff, it's very quirky and very unique and very him. Andy Warhol's another person that's quirky and unique. So take a movie like, say, Glen or Glenda, Ed Wood's classic, and he used his girlfriend at the time, Dolores Fuller, in a lot of his films, and she's typically viewed as a bad actress.
Have you seen the paper yet?
No, what?
It's headlines. A man had his sex changed to a woman. Isn't that a strange case? I wonder how some people's mind works.
She's fully committed to those performances and really invests her heart into it. She did the role. So the role of Glen or Glenda's girlfriend in that movie is Dolores Fuller. That is the role, that is the character.
I don't fully understand this, but maybe together we can work it out.
And anything moving forward, any remake of Glen or Glenda or Plan 9 from Outer Space or Pink Flamingos is going to have to embody that person's performance, that character. Anytime you parody it, you're going to be bringing in that character. So the role is the role.
I don't fully understand this.
So if it's memorable and it lives on and we reference it, is it really bad acting? I don't think so. I think it's memorable acting. I think it's intentional acting. And again, the worst kind of acting is the kind that you don't remember, that doesn't leave an impression, that bores you, that takes you out of the experience instead of into it.
Oh my God!
It's okay to laugh at somebody's performance or to think that something is weird or off kilter about it. But when you describe something like that in a review or a critique or a comment, think about what you're actually saying. Are you really blaming the direction or the editor? Did the performance actually entertain you even though it didn't have its intended effect? All of those things I wouldn't say are bad acting.
Let us punish the guilty. Let us reward the innocent.
I think most of the people that we say are bad actors are actually very committed, very passionate, very in character.
I know, Mo. I'm so hungry I could eat cancer.
And are taking risks. And the risks and choices that they make just maybe didn't pay off the way you expected it.
Hospitality. And you can't piss on hospitality. I won't allow it.
And that's what culminates in the phrase bad acting. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I have some videos on your screen right now. I got a lot of links over here and the subscription button over here, and I'd love to see you press all those things. So have a good day.